Alright guys, I've been asked in the comments about my headliner, so I'm going to do just a quick overview on how I did mine. So this is my most current headliner. This is probably going to be the one I stick with for a little while. I changed the headliner out because I wanted the overhead console, which is now fully installed, fully wrapped, and this is good to go. I could probably benefit by doing the visors, but I haven't gotten that far. Don't really care enough to do it. This is going to be a very brief on how to take out the headliner for those who have never done it before. You're going to want to start up front. Now, I have the overhead console, but if you don't have the overhead console, there are two clips that hold the visors in. They're held in with a Phillips head screwdriver. You want to take them each out. Then each visor is held in with 3 Phillips head screws. So there's 3 on each side. Then over here, you move these clips out of the way on the grab handles. And these are Torx bits. I don't remember the size, but they're pretty standard. There's 2 Torx bits for each handle, and there's 3 handles in the Jeep. On the A-pillar up front, on either side, there are 2 plastic covers. Behind these are Phillips head screws. Go ahead and pull those out. And now, at this point, you should be able to gently pull this down. You don't want to fully remove it. You don't have to. You just want to pull it down. It's held in with plastic retaining clips as well as the screws up front. And then you want to start working your way back. So you want to pull this down, let it hang. So once you get the rear handle out, then there's 2 more screws in this over the window. And once again, I have the 4-door, so the 2-door might be slightly different. But you take out these 2 Phillips head screws, and then this whole part slides out. This whole part slides out. Then this part just drops. And then you're going to want to get, I believe this is a T, I'm going to have to double check, but this is a big T51 or 52 Torx bit. You got to take this out. I use the T50 Torx for the seat belts in the rear. Yeah, the D-pillars. There are, I believe, 2 screws here, 1 screw there, and that should loosen that up. And then there's, on most Jeeps, I believe there's 4 screws across the top for the cross member here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and usually that drops. However, the previous owner put in a couple extra retaining screws on mine, so I don't know if that crosses into other Jeeps. But on the very front of this, where the hatch actually meets the body, I have 3 extra screws. So once you take that down, all the trim should come down. And once again, you're going to do what I said on the passenger side, on the driver's side. It's all the same. The only difference is on the driver's side, there's no grab handle. So once you take that down, the headliner should start to sag a little bit. If the headliner doesn't sag, you can actually gently tuck your hand behind there and work it free. Now, sometimes they have like shielding or padding that will stick to the ceiling, but it should come down relatively easy. Do not pull hard on the headliner. This is fiberglass. This will break, snap, bend. Not snap, it'll definitely bend really easy and it'll crease, and you don't want that. You gotta treat this really gently and pull it out in one piece. You want to be able to do this in a place that has a lot of room, especially out the back. Once you get everything free, you're gonna want to disconnect the lights up front. On the standard Jeep, there's a light here that comes down, and I believe that's 2 wires there. And then in the back, if you don't have the external the external sound bar and have the one built in, this will start to sag a little bit. You unplug both speakers and then the overhead light, and you should be able to then pull the headliner through the back hatch. And once you get the headliner out the back hatch, that's when you can start prepping. I typically like to pull the old fabric off and use a soft bristle brush. I'll show you what I mean right now. Any one of these type of brushes will work. This one's worked really well. It's a little softer, and that's what you kind of want, because what's going to happen is when you drop the headliner material down and you pull the fabric off, it's going to be left with a bunch of padding that was there from the factory, and that's adhesed to the headliner. So you want to be able to brush that off. It kind of feels like spongy material. It's sticky. It's kind of disgusting, but these brushes do pretty well. Now, you know, you're going to want to get a bigger one because it covers a little bit more area faster. I have a couple sizes for various reasons, but you know, this one gets the bulk of it. This one will get the tight spots, and if you're careful enough, I've done it with wire brush on a drill. To do it on the drill with a wire brush, you got to be very gentle and not push down too hard, because this wire brush will eat into the fiberglass really fast. I've actually dug through a headliner once before. So I started with 4 yards, which seems to be more than enough. I wanted a little extra for this so I can refinish the overhead console and have it match. But basically, I think I had 3 yards on the original one without the overhead console, and I think I actually had enough to do an overhead console. So 3 yards should be more than enough. I think the fabric cost me about $20. And the stuff I'm going to be using is Super 77. This is the stuff that I think everybody keeps talking about for headliners. I guess it works pretty well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in small sections. I'm going to peel this back. Oops. I'm going to peel this back and literally work. Well, actually, what I'm going to do is strip it off. I'm going to do a light coating on the whole thing, get it nice and tacky, but not, you know, get it tacky, don't let it dry. Then I'm going to place this on again and spray it heavier and heave it right on there. So let's do that now. you can see here, I'm actually fighting with all the extra fabric. In hindsight, I should have pre-cut the fabric before laying it down on the headliner. No major bubbles yet. I gotta go through and vacuum up all the crap I put on it. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. So now what I'm gonna do is flip it over and start working on adhering the edges, pulling it nice and taut, trimming everything back, doing some relief cuts around it, around the corners, so that way it rolls nice and even. So let's do that now. Alright, so now I just have a few inches fabric. So what I'm going to do now is take the adhesive, just coat just a few inches on the back side of this, so that way I can roll the stuff over. I mean, this stuff's still a little tacky, but roll it over there. That way it has another point of contact to hold and it won't sag. So I'll go ahead and spray both sides. Obviously I might have to trim that back a little bit more, but it might be okay. But I'm going to go ahead coat the outer edge, and once I do that, that's when I can also start doing this. Start cutting relief cuts and folding this back. Same thing with this, and then the centerpiece. Camera decided to die in the middle of all this, and my heater decided to go on right when as I'm starting to film again. But basically what I did was I went out, I carved out all the holes I need. What I did was, still a little tacky, I made relief cuts. I made like X cuts, and then I folded everything back and I shot some adhesive all around, and then I just cut in crisscross patterns, opened it up, peeled it back, and we're good to go. So next step, I'm going to let it dry overnight, just because it's getting late anyway. Come back, I'll do a nice little vacuum, maybe vacuum or a lint roller, and clean this up a little bit. I do need to poke some holes for the speaker grill carvers. Right there's 1, 2. So I'll cut a little hole in there. I just gotta figure a good way to do that without ruining it. But yeah, I think she came out pretty good. I think this one came out better than my last one. Okay, so that's what it's gonna look like when it's all done. Next thing I gotta do is just put the new 6 1/2s in the speaker bar, and then start installing this into the Jeep. I'm going to do the center console part separate, just because I want to get this up and get everything tested. But yeah, it should be good to go. Hey gang, I hope you got something out of this video. Toward the end of the video, my camera did cut out and I wasn't able to capture widening the soundbar for the new speakers. The factory actually I believe comes with 6 1/4. I bought 6 1/2 and I just opened up the hole to accept the 6 1/2. So outside of that, it's a pretty straightforward mod. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below, and please like and share my channel and check out my other videos. I have lots of other how-tos on XJs and other Jeep related stuff. So have a good one.